Today we will talk about the human reproductive system, and in this case we will talk about the female reproductive system. This is a drawing of the female reproductive organs. What you find here is one of the main organs, which is the uterus. Even if the name is marked here, it's this whole part. It is like the fruit, the pear, but upside down. Then you find the ovaries on both sides of the uterus, and connecting the ovaries to the uterus, the fallopian tubes on both sides. The uterus connects to the vagina via this part, which is called the cervix. The cervix is, we'll see later, is a muscle which gets dilated. You see here the opening is very, very tiny, and when the baby is growing inside the uterus, when it comes to the moment of the delivery, the cervix dilates and the baby can enter the birth canal, that is the vagina. This is the same anatomy from the side view. It looks far more complicated, but you will understand quickly. Here you see again the uterus. In front of the uterus you find your urinary bladder. This was not displayed in the previous picture. The urinary bladder holds the urine. The urine reaches the outside of your body through the urethra. This is the urethra, okay, here. The uterus is connected to the outside via the vagina. This is the second opening. And in the end, we have here the last part of the digestive system, which comes the gut, the intestine, the rectum, and the anus, okay? So this is very important for you to understand, because many people, incredibly at your age, still don't know the difference between the vagina, the urethra, and this is very important not only as a general knowledge, but also for the hygiene habits, that you have to be very, very careful that the vagina and the urethra do not get infected with here, what comes out here, which are the feces, okay? On the outside of all your genitals, you find what we call the vulva. The vulva is, we'll see in a picture later, are the outer genitals that include but are not restricted to the labium majora, the labium minora, and the clitoris. The clitoris is a little gland, we'll see a little later. Here you find the bone, the pelvic bone, and this is your belly here, okay? What you see here depicted is only one ovary with a fallopian tube. The other would be like in 3 dimensions on this side of the uterus, coming out of the screen. The fallopian tubes are also called oviducts. Oviducts, why? Because these are ducts, are tubes that transport the ova. The ova is what we know in Spanish as óvulo, okay? The fallopian tubes connect the ovaries with the uterus. These tubes are ciliated. Cilia means little hairs in biological terms, and the cilia help the eggs to move forward, the ova. The ova that are produced in the ovary don't have a tail like the sperm cells, Let's paint a little bit. The sperm cells, have a little tail, and they move forward by themselves. On the other side, the ovum has no tail, so they don't have an own motility. Another group will be studying a specific difference between sperm cells and ova. So they need that the ovary moves them forward, the oviduct moves them forward. The oviducts, and this is very funny because many people don't know that the oviducts or fallopian tubes are the site where the fertilization occurs. The fertilization does not occur in the uterus, and the fertilization does not occur in the ovary. The fertilization, this is the moment where the sperm cell reaches the ovum, occurs in the fallopian tubes. The uterus has 3 layers. This means like 3 walls. One of the most important, of course, all are equally important, otherwise they wouldn't exist, but the endometrium, we'll talk later, when we come to pregnancy, is the inner wall of the uterus where the embryo is implanted, okay? When the ovum is fertilized and it migrates and it reaches the uterus, then it has to attach to the inner wall, which is called the endometrium. The myometrium is the middle wall. It's made of muscles that you need to contract both in the orgasm, in the female orgasm, and when you are delivering your baby. And the perimetrium is the outer uterus wall. The cervix, as I told you before, is made of a sphincter muscle. What is a sphincter muscle? You probably heard control de esfínteres in the babies, in the little toddlers and kids when they begin to learn to use the toilet instead of using diapers. The sphincter muscles are muscles that are like circular muscles that open and close in a circle. So when you hold the urine, you are closing a sphincter muscle in the urethra. There are many, the anus has a sphincter muscle, and the cervix is also a sphincter muscle that controls the opening and the closing of the uterus. Here you see again the 3 uterus walls we were talking about, the endometrium, the myometrium, and outside the perimetrium. And here is the cervix. This is a view of the vulva, the outer genitals of the woman. You see the opening of the vagina, it's here, and compare it to the opening of the urethra. If you're a girl that is watching this and you ever take a mirror, you will be able to confirm this anatomy. So this is the vaginal opening, the urethral opening where the urine comes out, and here you find the clitoris, okay? The clitoris is a little gland that is highly, highly sensitive, like the head of the penis of the man, and it is involved in the arousal, okay? The vagina is a muscular tube, and it has 2 functions, not only to receive the penis, but also to deliver the baby. This is a very common question in adolescents. What happens with this hymen? The hymen is a thin membrane that covers here the opening of the vagina. You don't see it now, but you can Google the image. And in many cases, it is broken before you have your first sexual intercourse because of sports or, for example, riding horses is a very common cause for a broken hymen. It doesn't mean that you have had sex. The vulva is all the external female genitalia. It involves the pubis here. Okay, this is the pubis. The labia majora is covered with hair that protect the hairs, and this part of the vulva have an importance. Careful with the trends in getting complete epilation. The hairs have a very high importance in this area because they protect pathogens from entering this very, very sensitive area. The labia minora, the clitoris, is an erectile highly sensitive organ, as I mentioned before, and in this region we find 2 openings, the urethral meatus and the vagina opening. So, I think this is what you have to learn until now. In next lesson we will see how the fertility, the ovulation and the hormonal cycle in the female occur. Thank you very much for your attention.